Hello, hello. So, today is a big day for me. I've been running my photography business for 14 years, and today is the day 14 years ago I started doing my modeling shoots or photography in general. So, when I first started, the goal was to create some images of concerts, events, parties. Nothing too crazy, just to create nice atmospheric images and just log the vibe that was going on parties and events. So it started out as something more like hobby. So my first camera was a Panasonic FZ50 Bridge, if I remember correctly. And that's where it all started. So it was like a hybrid model, not really a DSLR, not really like something else. It was like a mixture of both, but it enables me to change lenses, if I remember correctly. So I started out doing that. Once I had the hang of it, I saw a workshop in Leuven, which is like 20-30 minutes from my place, with modeling workshops. It was based on strobist technique, which is like you use the small speed lights you put on the camera to create light instead of using those big studio strobes. We're talking about 14 years ago. YouTube was not a big thing back then. And you had to learn everything by yourself. Because I like the really technical part of things, I really enjoyed learning more about the technical thing. Now, I've always said, this sounds funny, I'm sure of it. I've always said that I would never do models and I would never do studio photography. Guess what? What's my main occupation now? I'm doing model photography full time and most of the time in my own studio, in my own place. So, something went wrong over the past years. I've been doing it 14 years. We had a lot of ups, so we had a lot of downs, so we had some issues on the long path, which is totally fine. It makes me the person I am today, and it still gives me those creative energy vibes that you need to grow as a photographer. We can always learn from fellow photographers. You're never too old to learn, so keep that in mind. I've made some friends along the way, I've made some enemies along the way. How do we say it? Big trees catch a lot of wind. So that's also something to keep in mind when you're starting out and you're growing as a photographer. Not everybody will love you. Some people will hate you, but hey, that's the thing about the world. You don't have to like everybody. You don't have to hate everybody. So that's something also like along those years you get to learn how it goes. So at the moment, I'm also teaching. So I'm teaching photography workshops. I'm hosting model events where a model comes to the studio and where we actually explain why we use certain light in a certain way, or we ask the fellow photographers what they want to create, and then we set up the light in order for them to learn how I see my creative vision. Yeah, as a photographer, videography has come to life, so we're now not only taking images, we're also creating moving images like videos, small videos, which is part of us as being a photographer. And I know some people will disagree with my opinion about that, but nowadays we are more like everything has to be social media, video, images, behind the scenes, and retouching the images, the social skills to talk with a model and communicate about what the images are you are going to create. So along those 14 years, it takes some time to get used to it. And never, ever, ever forget, you don't start at the level I am at now. It took me 14 years to just get where I am today. If you're interested, it's your passion, and you eat and breathe photography, sure, like in a sort of way, that's the thing that keeps you growing and keeps you motivated to keep on pushing yourself to the limits. So that's a really important thing. Keep pushing yourself so that you can grow each day. You don't start immediately with a studio with expensive strobes in it. You start with some budget friendly strobes. You build it up slowly. I still remember I was working full time, and while I was working full time, I had my first holiday money, and that was the money that allowed me to buy big strobes for the studio from A brand. At the moment, I'm still using them. It's Elinchrom. I really like the brand, and yeah, you just keep extending the things you have. But at a certain point, when people come here for the first time, they go like, "Whoa, what do you have?" But I always tell them, remember, It is, but over a period of 14 years. We started with the first images, we ended up with the things we're doing now. Along the way, I always had my vision about the style I wanted. I wanted saturated images, I wanted warm vibe in the images, and I wanted contrasty, moody images. So that's most of the time the work you see from me online. And it is still the work I like to create a lot. Because with shadows you can play around and it lets you create an image instead of just putting like one strobe in front of the model, bam, strobe it all out, and the model is perfectly lit, but there's no character in it for me. So that's the reason why I like to play with shadows. The retouching part, I was a retoucher, not really a retoucher. I was a person who enjoyed Photoshop a lot before I actually started doing photography. So with that in mind, I like to be taking images, but I also like to retouch the images, which creates a nice combination together, which allows me to create the images I'm creating today. That being said, the goal is to grow, and yeah, 15 years will start today. So I'm still excited for the future, what the future will bring. And we will be more focusing on bigger photo shoots, not images, bigger photo shoots in general. We will start building some scenes, some sets. Not to forget, a big shout out to all my friends, my models, my fellow colleagues, my clients, everybody who is around me. Big thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all the support I get from you people out there, especially the people watching this video. Thank you again. And let's do another 15 years and let's create some magic together. So thanks again, and then I'll see you when I see you. Ciao, ciao.